Freiburg 1, West Ham 0. Really frustrating evening for West Ham. Really poor as well overall, I thought. A game that we shouldn't have lost. We shouldn't. It was there. It was there for the taking, as far as I'm concerned. And I think there's a few factors at play as to why we didn't get that result that we needed. I think there's an element of blame got to go to the manager. I think that he really did show a lack of desire in that game to go for the win. Really blindingly obvious changes needed making, and they just weren't. Again, sticking with players that are playing badly, a running theme with David Moyes. It really feels like that's something we experience year after year, sticking with players purely because they're part of that trusted group, but it doesn't matter how bad they're playing. I'm referring to Kurt Zouma in this, but we'll come to that in a minute. Talk about the game quickly. First half I thought was a really scrappy affair. Nothing in it really. I think that they created more of the chances, but they weren't. I was never worried. I really wasn't watching that game thinking, I'm nervous about Freiburg. I thought they really lacked any real quality to give us any trouble. Although they had more of the chances, I thought we looked more threatening. I actually thought we looked more dangerous, but we just weren't clinical enough. I'll be honest. When it got to half time, because there wasn't really much to talk about, I'm going to be honest, that's how much I could say about the first half. I was okay. I actually thought to myself, well, actually, do you know what? This game's there for the taking. We can win this game. Let's go and win it. Let's get one foot in the quarter-final, get it done. And this is where my frustration is with David Moyes, because this is where I feel like he didn't have that attitude. I think that he actually felt the opposite and probably thought, let's just stick with a 0-0. I think David Moyes played for a draw in that game. I don't think he showed enough desire to go and win the game. Jarrod Bowen was tired from the outset, didn't look himself at all, and this is what we're going to get with a manager that doesn't rotate. And we see this. This is a common theme at West Ham, where it's the same players playing week in, week out. We now got players that clearly can't. You've got Kurt Zouma that struggles to play once a week, but he's playing him twice a week. And not only is he playing him twice a week, but the player's also in bad form. But you could see very early on that Jarrod Bowen is very tired. Now, I'm not saying don't start Bowen because it's an important game. But what you could have done possibly is say had maybe started Antonio, or had the plan to say, I'm going to start Bowen, but I'm going to bring Antonio on at half time. Do you know what I mean? Have it mix it up a bit. But David Moyes just doesn't seem to have that mentality. It's almost like he just doesn't see what's in front of him. He just will not acknowledge the actual facts. It's like he's got a very strange view of things. And basically, I think that when you Lucas Paqueta, another example, absolutely exhausted throughout the game, absolutely shattered. You could see from the sort of hour mark, I'd say Paqueta needed to come off. He was so tired. But again, David Moyes reluctant. It just doesn't make the changes. I thought second half we played better. I do think we upped our game though. I will say that. I felt that we were passing the ball around better. And I at that point was sort of crying out for changes. I'm watching the game and thinking, if we can make the right changes at the right time now, i.e. on the sort of 60-minute mark, which is the sort of typical time Moyes tends, if he's going to make a sub, he does it. It's either then or right at the end. And unfortunately for this game, he did right at the end, as usual. This kind of... it's sort of like it's reactionary substitutions from Moyes. It's not proactive at all. The game was crying out for Antonio, in my opinion. We needed another outlet. We needed some fresh legs out there. But Moyes just stands there with his hands in his pockets, watching it. And then you watch Freiburg, who then make changes. They go for the win. They can sense the game's there to be taken. I think it was obvious. The game was there for West Ham to take or for Freiburg to take. We were the better side second half, in my opinion. I thought we were the better team. I thought we looked the more likely to go and win that game. But we had a manager on the sideline that just couldn't see that and couldn't sense the opportunity in front of him, and decides to hold out for a draw. Thinking if I can keep this at 0-0, that's a good result. It wouldn't have been a bad result. I'm not saying it would have been a bad result, but we could have won the game. We had warning after warning for that game regarding Kurt Zouma. And not only this game, let's get it straight, Kurt Zouma's been in terrible form now for some time. He looks terrible nick in terms of his knees. He's so immobile, it's frightening. and yet he starts him again. And you're watching him, and you can sense he's going to get. You can see he was getting caught out during the game anyway. It's always losing. He was always losing his man. And then the key moment, of course, is their goal. Huge error from Edson Alvarez. He's the main culprit. As much as I'm frustrated with Zouma, because Zouma is at fault as well, once again. But make no mistake, Edson Alvarez was the main culprit for the goal, giving the ball away cheaply in such a dangerous area. And really naively as well, you watch it thinking, what is he doing? For a player that's been such good form, been so good, scored in his last game, really out of character and frustrating to witness, because it really did cost us. But you have to look at Zouma as well. He lost his man marking was bad again. Bad positioning from Zouma, and yeah, it's a goal. Tap in for them, and lo and behold, this is when David Moyes suddenly makes his changes. It's now panic stations when the game was there to be taken earlier on when it was 0-0. You don't keep waiting till you fall behind to then start decide. Oh, we're now going to try and score a goal. Which is just the theme of David Moyes, isn't it? A lot of the time. And annoying as well, considering the fact that we've just had the Everton game and the performance there, where the manager actually made changes. He made the changes at the right times on the pitch, switched things around to go and win the game, and it worked quite well. And yet, he didn't do it this time. You just think a few days ago you did. Honestly, he's an enigma, isn't he, at times, David Moyes? It's so difficult to understand his process and how he's trying to fall. I just don't understand it. He's watching players that literally are being run into the ground. Jared Bowen looks exhausted. Paqueta's just had 2 months off, and you're literally throwing him out every match for 90 minutes. He's exhausted, and he will be then again required on Sunday, like Bowen will be, like Zouma will be. You know that's the situation, because we've got a manager so reluctant to rotate. He just doesn't rotate. And it catches us out badly. Anyway, they go 1-0 up, and then it goes typical, now we need a goal. Now West Ham are going to try and fight to get a goal. And we were huffing and puffing. And then there was the penalty incident at the end, VAR call. At the time, much like like yourself, I'm sure, I was obviously, screaming out for a penalty because I want it to be a penalty. Then they go and do the VAR check. You think, I think it's going to get overturned. They're going to award the penalty, and then they, after a ridiculously long time, it felt like an hour. Well, it wasn't, obviously, it was a few minutes, but it felt like that. They decide against it. Referee, which is actually very different to what we usually see in the Premier League. Let's be honest, where they always overturn the referee's decision if they go and check it. But looking back at it, I was obviously annoyed at the time because I wanted us to obviously get that penalty, because it would have been great to get the goal and come back with a draw. But I think it was more the desire, because I'm a West Ham fan, and for the result. On reflection, having had a look at it again, I think it would have been a bit harsh. I think we would have probably got away with it had it been a penalty. Look, we just had one go against us as well, don't forget, against Everton. So there was that feeling of that it would have evened it up a little bit for us. But it is what it is. I'm going to make this straight, though. I as much as I'm annoyed, like I'm sure many of you are this morning, and how you feel, being a West Ham fan, it is annoying. It feels like an opportunity missed. I'm not impressed with Freiburg. I really am not. I'm not. I didn't watch them thinking they're knocking us out of this tournament. I really don't. I think West Ham, we can still go through. I think, and I'm actually relatively confident we will. I know I used that word yesterday in the preview, saying that I was confident we'd get a result out there, but I still am. I still actually am. As I say, I wasn't impressed. I didn't watch that team thinking that, God, they are really difficult opponents here. I think that we just lacked fight, lacked heart, and lacked a bit of courage in that game. I think that we went into that game, unfortunately, with a mindset of let's keep it at 0-0 and bring them back to London, and I think that was the wrong approach. I think if we'd have gone into it with a bit more desire to go and win it, I think we'd have won the game. But I think we just got a manager that he is incredibly frustrating at times when it comes to these substitutions. It's so infuriating watching it. It's so blindingly obvious. Do you know what I mean? It's so you're looking at it like I don't get why he doesn't see it. Anyway, I don't want to spend it moaning about David Moyes all the time. It's certainly not what I'm intending to do. So I think as I say, it's only 1-0 and back at London Stadium, we're going to have to up our game massively. But I think we will. I think being at home under the floodlights, I think we'll be right up for it. And I think if we can get an early goal, I think we'll go and win that game. I just say I don't think they're much cop, but we're going to have to seriously up our game. And David Moyes has got to stop this. Peddling, using players that are clearly desperate for a rest, and also playing players that are not in good form. Kurt Zouma is not in good form at all. He really needs resting. You've got Angelo Bonner on the bench. I said it before that I think he needs to be playing. In my preview, I said that I'd had him starting. I don't want to see Zouma playing. I don't want to see him, but I just know for a fact. You just know, don't you? He's going to be playing against Burnley. It seems to be now a running theme every game, an error from Zouma, and it's not just one. I mean, he's getting away with a few. But he didn't get away with it yesterday. But having said that as well, don't want to keep attacking Zouma on this. Edson Alvarez was the main culprit for that goal. Frustrating night. And one we need to draw a line under quickly, get back to winning ways on Sunday, give us that lift ahead of them the second leg on next Thursday in London Stadium, where I'm still relatively confident we're going to get the job done. Come on, you ones.